This is the Behind the Line podcast, coming to you from the crazy, chaotic lines of the Pacific Northwest. This is just a little language warning for what you're about to listen to, because I'm going to go on a rant about this human trafficking lie the media is pushing now with this Martha's Vineyard story. Enjoy. Okay, I got to go on a little rant about this whole human trafficking migrant thing that's going on in the media right now, and some of the politicians that are going on about it. This whole deal with DeSantis sending these migrants to Martha's Vineyard. Martha's Vineyard, a rich, mostly white Democrat community, extremely rich, on the coast, sent one small plane load of 50 people up there, and all of a sudden, this is horrible, this is human trafficking, deplorable, all this crap going on in the media. First of all, for them to compare what DeSantis and Abbott in Texas are doing by flying these migrants to sanctuary cities or Democrat cities is just sickening. I was in law enforcement for a number of years. I've seen kidnapping and dealt with kidnapping cases. I've seen actual human trafficking and what that looks like. I have friends in law enforcement who have dealt with actual human trafficking and what that looks like. And the fact that these moron politicians and moron news media people would compare what those governors are doing to what actually happens when people are human trafficked, the conditions that those people endure, and the things that happen to them while that's happening or when they get to wherever they're going. Were any of these people forced into some kind of slavery or work or prostitution or something of that nature? Did any of these people have to pay tens of thousands of dollars to go to these locations in the United States? Were they abused? Were they beaten? Were they left for dead anywhere? Were they not fed, not given water? No. And the fact that they get to the rich, mostly white community of Martha's Vineyard, and they're allowed to stay for a day, and then the community members start crying that they need to go, and the National Guard is called in after 24 hours to remove them to a military base. Does anybody else see the hypocrisy? Does this happen in any of these sanctuary cities? Thousands of cities across the United States where these people are showing up? No. I don't know about you, but I am sick and fucking tired of listening to these idiots in the media talk to us like we have no common sense or we don't have eyes to see what's actually going on here. I'm sick and fucking tired of these politicians treating us the same way. Like we're a bunch of idiots and don't have eyes to see the truth that is right before us. And they just outright lie to our faces every night on TV, on the radio, from their little offices in the Capitol buildings. You got DC's mayor on the news yesterday saying that they don't have the infrastructure to deal with migrants being bussed to their city from Texas. Well, really? Do those border towns in Texas and Arizona have the infrastructure, you fucking idiot? When are these people, these politicians, and these quote-unquote news media reporters, paid actors reading some script that more than likely some government agency gave them to read, when are they going to be held accountable for just lying every day Lies, lies, and more lies. And if you believe everything these people are telling you, well, you're an idiot too. There is plenty of information out there, pictures and videos and news stories, actual news stories of what human trafficking really looks like. These media people and politicians should be ashamed of themselves because they are using those migrants as a pawn, as a political game. What they're trying to say that the Republicans are doing, those two governors are proving a point. They're showing these Democrats what happens when their policies are enacted, what these border states are dealing with every day. They're giving these Democrats who live thousands of miles away making stupid decisions about our border a little taste of what it's like. And clearly they don't like it. Not in my backyard, right? Isn't that what the Democrats like to say all the time? That the Republicans or conservatives think? Not in my backyard. Now who's saying that? Now who's calling the National Guard after 24 hours when 50 migrants show up? The other thing these dumbass rich people in Martha's Vineyard did was start a GoFundMe page, not to give the money to the migrants or help them. No, it's a GoFundMe page so they can have money set aside in case this happens again in the future, so they can somehow deal with having people there, the homeless people there, the migrants there. They actually had the balls to get on the news and say they had a housing shortage in Martha's Vineyard. Have you ever looked at pictures of Martha's Vineyard? The huge houses with the acres and acres of open land. Well, you could park lots of tents there. You could park lots of tiny homes there. No, not in my backyard. I'm sick of these people being able to get away with lying like they do. Just saying whatever they want, even though you can see for yourself something completely different is going on. But they just keep regurgitating the same lies every night. This place is broken. There's no honesty anymore. There's no integrity anymore. You've got a bunch of narcissistic sociopaths running this country, running these states. When is enough enough? These politicians and media people need to crawl back into whatever hole they crawled out of. So as I stated before, the federal government has been quietly flying migrants from border cities to various places in the United States on undocumented flights that arrive at airports without any sort of flight plan, unbeknownst to the airport. And there's been several news stories on this, and also you can go to a website called Police Activity that actually has some raw video cam from some police who were called to an airport and confronted the staff from the airplane who were offloading a bunch of migrants onto buses and basically wanted to know why they were there, because flights don't come into the airport after a certain time of night, and this was in the middle of the night. And the staff of the airplane would not give the police any information, and it was a big confusing thing. And this is happening all over, but of course nothing is said about the federal government doing these things, right? So now you've got California Governor Gavin Newsom calling on the DOJ to start some investigation into DeSantis and Governor Abbott for doing these flights. And, calling it again human trafficking. I think it's hilarious coming from old Newsom in California, since just a couple years ago he was giving one-way ticket rides on buses to homeless people to get them out of cities in California. And it was called like the Going Home Plan or something, where they would give these homeless people one-way bus tickets back to whatever state they came from. And according to the article about the program, almost all those people wound up on the streets, homeless, wherever they ended up on the bus. But I guess that's different when, New Scum does it. You're talking about a governor who's got a major water crisis and electricity crisis in his state, and all he wants to do is be on the news condemning these governors in other states that are dealing with problems that he doesn't care about, spending hundreds of millions of dollars of taxpayer money from California on abortion services, fighting against governors in Texas and Florida, spending taxpayer money to take out ads against the governor of Florida. This guy is a freaking loon. And all you really need to know about him and his state and the way he runs it is that his own in-laws packed up from California, moved to Florida, and became registered Republican and independent. His mother and father-in-law. And now you've got this Texas sheriff from Bexar County saying he's going to open a criminal investigation because some laws were broke, although he didn't specify what laws were broke, saying that these migrants were lured onto flights with promises of work and housing and whatnot. Well, they're sent to the states that like to say they're going to give these people everything they need to survive, housing and jobs and free government money. So is it really that much of a stretch? And if they don't have those things for them in Bexar County, what is the difference if they are sent somewhere else to a bigger city, a more financially stable location that could provide those things for them? Wouldn't that make their situation better then? The bottom line here is, yeah, maybe it is a political stunt, but it's time that these Democrats wake up to the problems that are going on at the border and in these border cities that are being overwhelmed. Border Patrol states they arrested over 2 million people this year at the border. That's more than any time in history. And that's just the ones that they arrested. 2 million. You can't have people pouring over a border like that and maintain your country. You just can't do it. No other country in the world does it. But even if that is a political stunt to get attention drawn to it, what the Democrats are doing right now is also a political stunt. Like everything else they do is just political stunts. You've got all these real problems going on in this country that nothing is getting done about because they're more worried about getting votes, about social programs that they can't stop talking about. And anybody who doesn't agree with them is racist or a terrorist or whatever. They just say whatever comes to their little bulbous brain. And of course, whatever they're doing is right and okay, and it doesn't matter. There's this double standard with every single thing we see when it comes to Democrats and Republicans. They can do whatever they want, but if anybody disagrees with that or has a problem with it, then they're wrong, they're criminals, they're racists, terrorists. I mean, you've heard it all. They need to be held responsible for what they have done and what they are doing to this country. Thank you for listening to the Behind the Line podcast. For more, visit behindthelinepodcast.com. You can also find us on netnewsnetwork.net, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Telegram, Gab, Parler,
and Truth Social. Please like, share, and subscribe.